Every single day, you wake up with a choice, even if you don't realize it yet. A choice to drift through life on autopilot or a choice to take ownership of who you are becoming. Daily discipline is the quiet force that shapes destiny long before success ever becomes visible. It is not dramatic, and it is rarely celebrated, but it is always present behind every breakthrough. Discipline is choosing what matters most over what feels good in the moment. It is waking up when your body wants to rest, showing up when your emotions want to hide, and doing the work even when the reward feels far away. Anyone can feel motivated when things are easy, but discipline is what carries you forward when motivation disappears. It is built in the small decisions you make every day, the ones no one claps for, the ones no one posts about, the ones that seem insignificant but quietly stack up over time. Your habits are votes for the future you are creating. Every disciplined action, no matter how small, is a step toward the person you claim you want to become. Skipping the work once may not ruin you, but repeating that choice shapes a pattern. And patterns shape outcomes. Discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect in action. It is proof that you take your goals seriously enough to protect them from distraction, excuses, and temporary comfort. The life you admire in others is often the result of routines they refuse to abandon, even when progress felt slow and invisible. Discipline trains your mind before it ever changes your circumstances. It teaches you that you are capable of following through, that your word to yourself matters, and that your future deserves effort today. When you practice discipline daily, you stop negotiating with weakness. You stop asking how you feel and start honoring what you committed to. This mental strength spills into every area of life: how you think, how you speak, how you respond under pressure. You begin to trust yourself, and that trust becomes unshakable confidence. There will be days when discipline feels heavy, when the results are silent, when doubt whispers that your effort is pointless. Those are the days that matter most. Discipline is forged in resistance, not comfort. Every time you push through when it would be easier to quit, you expand your capacity. You become someone who does not rely on perfect conditions to perform. You learn that consistency beats intensity and patience beats impatience. Destiny is not decided by one bold moment, but by thousands of disciplined ones strung together over time. Daily discipline also sharpens your focus. It helps you say no to distractions that pull you away from your purpose. It reminds you that time is your most valuable asset and wasting it has consequences. When you are disciplined, you stop chasing quick wins and start building lasting foundations. You understand that success is rented, not owned, and the rent is due every single day. There are no shortcuts that last, only standards you refuse to lower. Through discipline, you begin to separate who you are from who you used to be. Old habits lose their grip as new ones take their place. You stop waiting for confidence and start earning it. You stop hoping for change and start creating it. The discipline you practice today becomes the freedom you experience tomorrow. It determines how far you go, how strong you become, and how much of your potential you actually claim. Every disciplined choice is a signal to the universe that you are serious, that you are prepared, that you are no longer leaving your future to chance. Consistency over motivation is the difference between people who talk about change and people who actually live it. Motivation is emotional, and emotions rise and fall without warning. Some days you feel unstoppable, other days you feel drained, uncertain, and uninspired. If your progress depends on how motivated you feel, your growth will always be unstable. Consistency removes emotion from the equation. It creates progress even on the days when you don't feel like showing up. It turns effort into a system rather than a struggle. Waiting to feel ready keeps you trapped in the same place, while consistent action quietly moves you forward. Motivation is loud and exciting, but it is temporary. Consistency is calm and repetitive, and that is exactly why it works. The mind loves comfort and familiarity, and consistency trains it to accept effort as normal. When you act consistently, you don't need to convince yourself every day. You don't waste energy debating whether you should start. You simply do what you decided to do, regardless of mood. This builds momentum, and momentum creates confidence. Confidence does not come from hype. It comes from proof, from seeing yourself show up again and again, even when it's inconvenient. Small, consistent actions outperform massive bursts of effort followed by long breaks. Anyone can work hard for a short period when inspired, but very few can stay committed when progress is slow and recognition is absent. Consistency thrives in silence. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need perfect conditions. It only needs commitment. Each day you repeat the same disciplined behavior, you reinforce your identity. You stop trying to become someone new and start acting like that person already exists. This is how habits are formed and lives are reshaped. Consistency also protects you from self-doubt. When results are delayed, motivation fades first, but consistency keeps moving. It reminds you that growth is happening beneath the surface even when you can't see it yet. Just like roots grow underground before anything breaks through, your efforts are building strength long before success becomes visible. Most people quit in this phase because they confuse silence with failure. Consistency teaches patience. It teaches you to trust the process without demanding immediate rewards. There will be days when consistency feels boring, repetitive, and unexciting. Those days are not obstacles, they are tests. They reveal whether you are committed to outcomes or addicted to feelings. Real progress is rarely thrilling. It is repetitive execution done with focus and intent. When you embrace consistency, you stop chasing motivation and start creating discipline. You realize that excellence is not a single moment but a daily practice. Consistency turns goals into inevitabilities. When you show up daily, even imperfectly, improvement becomes unavoidable. You may move slowly, but you will not stop. And slow progress beats no progress every time. Consistency also builds resilience. Miss a day, and you don't quit, you return. You don't spiral into guilt or self-criticism. You understand that consistency is not perfection, it is persistence. The ability to get back on track matters more than never stepping off. Over time, consistency reshapes how you see yourself. You become someone who follows through, someone who can be trusted, someone who doesn't rely on external motivation to move forward. This internal reliability becomes a powerful asset. It affects how you approach challenges, how you handle pressure, and how you respond to setbacks. You stop asking for permission to grow and start taking responsibility for your actions. Consistency simplifies life. Fewer decisions, less drama, more progress. Day by day, action by action, effort becomes automatic, and growth becomes part of who you are, rather than something you chase. Ownership of choices and actions is the moment you stop giving your power away. The moment you accept that where you are right now is not an accident, not luck, not fate, but the result of decisions made consistently over time. This is not about blame, it is about control. As long as you blame circumstances, people, or the past, you remain stuck waiting for something outside of you to change. Ownership shifts the focus inward. It forces you to confront the truth that your future is shaped more by your responses than by your conditions. Taking ownership means refusing to see yourself as a victim of life. It means understanding that even when you didn't choose what happened to you, you always choose how you respond. Your attitude, your effort, your discipline, and your standards are yours alone. No one else wakes up inside your mind. No one else carries your potential. When you own your choices, excuses lose their power. You stop saying, I can't, and start asking, how can I? This shift is uncomfortable, but it is also freeing because it returns control back to where it belongs. Every action you take is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every excuse you accept is a vote against that future. Ownership requires honesty, especially when it's inconvenient. It means admitting when you're procrastinating, when you're avoiding responsibility, when fear is disguising itself as logic. Growth begins when denial ends. You cannot change what you refuse to acknowledge. Owning your actions means accepting both your wins and your mistakes without running from anger. Mistakes stop being proof of failure and start becoming information, lessons that sharpen judgment and strengthen character. When you take ownership, discipline becomes personal. You no longer wait to be pushed, reminded, or rescued. You understand that no one is coming to save you. And instead of feeling abandoned, you feel empowered. You realize that consistency, effort, and follow through are choices you make daily. Ownership turns commitment into a non-negotiable. You stop doing things only when it's convenient and start doing them because you said you would. Your word to yourself gains weight and self-trust begins to form. Ownership also changes how you handle setbacks. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You ask, what can I learn from this? Instead of quitting, you adjust. Instead of resenting obstacles, you use them as training. This mindset builds resilience. Life will test you regardless, but ownership determines whether those tests break you or build you. You stop wasting energy on anger and start investing it in solutions. Progress accelerates when responsibility replaces resentment. There is strength in accountability. When you own your actions, you stop needing validation from others. You are no longer controlled by praise or criticism because your standards come from within. You measure success by effort, integrity, and growth rather than external approval. This internal compass keeps you steady when opinions shift and circumstances change. You become grounded, focused, and intentional. Ownership demands courage because it removes the safety net of excuses. It exposes weaknesses, but it also reveals potential. You begin to see that you are capable of far more than you once believed. You stop underestimating the impact of your daily decisions. Small choices stop feeling small when you understand their long-term consequences. Ownership sharpens awareness. It makes you mindful of how you spend time, energy, and attention. When you fully own your choices, your life stops feeling random. Direction replaces confusion. Purpose replaces drift. You stop reacting to life and start responding with intention. You understand that success is not something you stumble into, but something you build through deliberate action. Ownership is the foundation of leadership, discipline, and self-respect. The moment you stop outsourcing responsibility is the moment growth becomes unavoidable. Growth through discomfort is the path most people avoid, which is exactly why it leads somewhere meaningful. Comfort feels safe, familiar, and predictable, but it rarely produces change. Discomfort, on the other hand, demands adaptation. It forces you to stretch beyond who you currently are to confront who you could become. Every level of growth requires leaving behind a version of yourself that once felt sufficient. That transition is never painless. It challenges your habits, your identity, and your beliefs about what you are capable of handling. Discomfort shows up the moment you try something new, speak up when you usually stay silent, or commit to a standard higher than what you're used to. It exposes weaknesses you didn't want to acknowledge and fears you hoped would disappear on their own. But fear does not fade through avoidance. It fades through exposure. Each time you step into discomfort, you train your nervous system to tolerate pressure. What once felt overwhelming begins to feel manageable, and what felt impossible starts to feel normal. Most people mistake discomfort for danger, but the two are not the same. Discomfort is a signal that growth is happening, that you are learning, adapting, and evolving. Avoiding it may feel good in the moment, but it slowly shrinks your world. Your comfort zone becomes a cage you decorate with excuses and rationalizations. Growth requires friction. Muscles grow by tearing and repairing. Confidence grows by facing uncertainty. Character grows by choosing the harder path when the easier one is available. Discomfort also sharpens focus. When you are challenged, you become more aware of your actions, your thoughts, and your reactions. You stop operating on autopilot. You begin to notice patterns that no longer serve you. This awareness is uncomfortable, but it is powerful. It allows you to make intentional changes rather than repeating the same cycles. Growth is not about becoming someone else. It is about shedding what no longer aligns with who you are becoming. There will be moments when discomfort triggers self-doubt. You may question whether you're capable, whether you belong, whether the effort is worth it. These thoughts are not signs that you should stop. They are signs that you are pushing past familiar limits. Growth does not come with constant reassurance. It comes with uncertainty and resistance. Learning to move forward despite those feelings builds mental toughness. You stop needing certainty to take action. You learn to trust yourself in the unknown. Discomfort also teaches humility. It reminds you that mastery takes time and that progress is rarely linear. You will struggle. You will fail. You will feel awkward and exposed. These moments refine you. They teach patience, persistence, and empathy. When you grow through discomfort, you gain respect for the process and compassion for others who are on their own journey. You stop judging struggle and start seeing it as evidence of effort. Avoiding discomfort keeps potential dormant. Embracing it activates growth. Each uncomfortable decision strengthens your capacity to handle the next challenge. Over time, your tolerance increases. What once intimidated you becomes routine. This is how limits expand. Not through sudden breakthroughs, but through repeated exposure to difficulty handled with intention. You don't become fearless. You become capable despite fear. Discomfort demands presence. You cannot sleepwalk through it. It requires you to show up fully, to engage, to learn. This presence builds resilience. It conditions you to stay grounded under pressure rather than panicking or retreating. Life will never stop presenting challenges, but growth determines how you meet them. When discomfort becomes familiar, adversity loses its power to paralyze. Growth through discomfort is a daily choice. It shows up in the discipline to practice when progress is slow, the courage to speak truth when silence feels safer, the commitment to keep going when quitting would be easier. Each time you choose discomfort with purpose, you reinforce the belief that you are capable of more. That belief compounds. It reshapes identity. You stop defining yourself by what feels easy and start defining yourself by what you are willing to face. Faith in delayed results is what keeps you moving when effort feels invisible. Most people quit not because they lack ability, but because they lose patience. They expect instant feedback, quick rewards, and clear signs that they are on the right path. When those signs don't appear, doubt creeps in. Faith is the decision to continue anyway. It is trusting that what you are doing today matters even when there is no immediate proof. Growth rarely announces itself in real time. It happens quietly, gradually, beneath the surface. Delayed results test your commitment more than any obstacle ever could. Anyone can stay consistent when progress is obvious, but real belief is revealed when the work feels repetitive and unrewarded. This is where most people abandon their goals. They confuse delay with denial. They assume that because they can't see change isn't happening. But progress is often hidden before it becomes visible. Just like seeds grow underground long before breaking the soil, your efforts are building something you cannot yet measure. Faith does not mean blind optimism. It means disciplined trust. It means understanding that meaningful outcomes take time and that rushing the process often ruins it. Skills take repetition. Strength takes resistance. Mastery takes patience. Delayed results are not punishment. They are preparation. They shape your character, your resilience, and your consistency. They teach you how to show up without applause, how to work without validation, how to believe without guarantees. When results are delayed, the mind starts negotiating. It questions whether the effort is worth it, whether another path would be easier, whether quitting would bring relief. Faith quiets that noise. It anchors you to long-term vision rather than short-term emotion. You stop chasing quick wins and start respecting the process. This shift is powerful because it changes how you measure success. Instead of obsessing over outcomes, you focus on execution. Instead of asking when it will pay off, you ask whether you showed up with integrity today. Delayed results also refine intention. They force you to confront why you started in the first place. If your motivation is shallow, the weight will expose it. If your purpose is strong, the weight will strengthen it. Faith deepens commitment. It transforms goals from desires into responsibilities. You stop needing constant reassurance. You learn to find satisfaction in effort itself. This internal reward system keeps you steady when external rewards are absent. There's discomfort in waiting, but there's also growth. Patience stretches emotional endurance. It builds discipline. It teaches you how to stay focused without becoming desperate. Many people sabotage progress because they try to force outcomes before they are ready. Faith allows timing to work in your favor. It prevents premature decisions driven by fear or frustration. You learn that alignment matters more than speed. Delayed results also build perspective. When success finally arrives, you recognize the value of the journey that shaped you. You see that the waiting period was not wasted time, but necessary time. It prepared you to handle responsibility, pressure, and consistency. Without that preparation, success would collapse under its own weight. Faith protects you from that collapse by ensuring that growth matches opportunity. Believing in delayed results does not mean ignoring feedback or refusing to adapt. It means staying committed while adjusting intelligently. You refine your approach without abandoning the mission. You remain open to learning while staying loyal to the goal. This balance separates persistence from stubbornness. Faith is flexible but firm. It allows growth without drift. When you develop faith in delayed results, urgency is replaced by steadiness. Anxiety is replaced by focus. Comparison loses its grip because you understand that timelines are personal. You stop measuring yourself against others and start measuring yourself against your own standards. Every day of effort becomes meaningful regardless of outcome. The wait no longer feels like punishment. It feels like part of the process. You keep moving, not because you see the finish line, but because you trust that each step forward is carrying you closer to something real. Mindset determines reality long before circumstances ever change. The way you interpret events, challenges, and setbacks shapes how you respond to them, and those responses shape outcomes. Two people can face the same situation and walk away with completely different results, not because of talent or luck, but because of how they think. Your mindset is the lens through which you experience life. If that lens is clouded by fear, doubt, or limitation, even opportunity will look like a threat. If it is shaped by growth, belief, and responsibility, even obstacles become tools. Your thoughts are not harmless. Repeated thoughts turn into beliefs, and beliefs influence behavior. When you tell yourself something often enough, your actions begin to align with it, whether it empowers you or holds you back. A mindset rooted in limitation searches for reasons to stop. A mindset rooted in growth searches for ways to adapt. This difference determines whether challenges become excuses or stepping stones. Life does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you consistently think and act upon. Mindset also controls emotional resilience. When setbacks occur, a fixed mindset interprets them as proof of inadequacy. A growth-oriented mindset sees them as feedback. The event may be the same, but the internal story changes everything. One story drains energy and confidence. The other fuels learning and persistence. Your inner dialogue either sharpens your focus or sabotages it. Becoming aware of that dialogue is a turning point. You begin to question thoughts instead of obeying them. You realize that not every thought deserves belief. A strong mindset does not ignore difficulty. It acknowledges reality without surrendering to it. It accepts discomfort without letting it define identity. When things get hard, mindset determines whether you shrink or rise. Pressure reveals what you believe about yourself. If you believe you are capable of learning, adapting, and enduring, pressure becomes a challenge. If you believe you are fragile or unlucky, pressure becomes overwhelming. Mind decides before the body ever responds. Mindset shapes discipline. If you believe effort is pointless unless results are immediate, consistency collapses. If you believe effort compounds over time, discipline becomes easier to sustain. You stop needing constant motivation because your thinking supports long-term action. You understand that progress is built, not discovered. This belief system influences how you use time, how you prioritize, and how you recover from setbacks. You stop seeing failure as a verdict and start seeing it as data. Your environment influences mindset, but mindset also shapes environment. The people you listen to, the content you consume, and the conversations you entertain reinforce certain ways of thinking. A conscious mindset filters input. It chooses what strengthens focus and rejects what feeds doubt. You begin to protect mental space because you understand its value. Negativity loses influence when awareness increases. You stop internalizing opinions that do not align with your direction. Mindset determines self-image. How you see yourself affects how you show up. If you identify as someone who quits when things get uncomfortable, you will find reasons to quit. If you identify as someone who adapts and persists, your actions will follow that identity. Identity is reinforced by behavior, and behavior is guided by belief. Changing mindset is not about positive thinking. It is about honest thinking aligned with growth. It requires replacing automatic reactions with intentional responses. Challenges test mindset constantly. Delays, criticism, uncertainty, and pressure all demand interpretation. A resilient mindset asks better questions. Instead of asking why this is happening, it asks what this requires. Instead of focusing on loss, it focuses on lessons. This shift preserves energy. It keeps attention on what can be controlled rather than what cannot. Over time, this way of thinking becomes instinctive. Mindset also influences how you treat yourself during struggle. Harsh self-judgment weakens resolve. Constructive self-awareness strengthens it. You learn to correct without condemning, to push without breaking. This balance sustains growth over long periods. A healthy mindset allows ambition without self-destruction. It supports effort while respecting limits. Reality responds to perception because perception drives action. Change the way you see challenges, and you change how you meet them. Change how you interpret failure, and you change how long you persist. Mindset is not a single decision. It is a daily practice shaped by attention, discipline, and choice. What you focus on grows stronger. What you believe becomes familiar. What you repeatedly think about becomes the framework through which life unfolds. This is not just a message to hear once and forget. It is a reminder of who you are becoming through what you practice daily. Discipline, consistency, ownership, discomfort, patience, and mindset are not separate ideas. They work together to shape your life from the inside out. Nothing changes overnight, but everything changes when you refuse to quit on yourself. Every small decision matters more than you think. What you repeat becomes who you are. If you commit to these principles daily, your actions will begin to align. Your confidence will grow and your future will start responding to the effort you